General Hospital will reveal Brook Kerr, the actress who portrays Portia on General Hospital, signed a 2-year contract with the show, which is officially set to expire in June 2025. As of now, there has been no public announcement regarding a renewal or extension of her contract, sparking intense speculation among fans that the character Portia may soon be written out of the storyline. This behind-the-scenes detail is more than just an industry technicality, it is a telling clue that a major tragedy may be quietly taking shape for Portia at the very heart of Port Charles. Recent developments on screen paint a grim picture for Portia, as she finds herself increasingly entangled in a dangerous situation she never anticipated. Her connection with Drew, once a man of integrity, is now turning into a perilous liability. Drew has changed. No longer the principled figure fans once admired, he has transformed into a calculating manipulator, determined to eliminate anyone who stands in his way. Portia, whether through misplaced trust or emotional vulnerability, has been caught in his web, where her very existence is beginning to pose a threat. Drew's vendetta against Curtis has further escalated the stakes. Fueled by jealousy and a thirst for revenge, Drew has secretly aligned himself with Michael to oust Curtis from Aurora. In this ruthless game of corporate dominance, Portia becomes collateral damage. Drew discovers her involvement in altering Heather's test results, a serious breach that he uses as leverage. With this knowledge, he begins to pressure Portia, using her guilt to manipulate her into submission, all while dragging her into his vendetta against Curtis. In terms of power and resources, Curtis and Portia are hopelessly outmatched. Drew holds the upper hand, both financially and strategically, and he shows no mercy. The situation takes a darker turn with the arrival of a mysterious figure named Urza. Far more than a shadowy associate, Urza exudes cold intelligence and quiet menace. He is not merely Drew's business partner but the architect of a much larger and more sinister plan. Operating behind the scenes, Urza is the puppet master pulling the strings. He allows Drew to carry out the dirty work while he remains cloaked in anonymity, orchestrating events with chilling precision. Portia becomes his next target, not out of personal hatred, but because she has become an inconvenient threat to the elaborate scheme he and Drew are constructing. Urza doesn't need to get his hands dirty. He simply sets the wheels in motion, ensuring that Portia's downfall appears accidental, or better yet, self-inflicted. His brilliance lies in his distance. He lets others take the fall while he quietly remains untouchable. Meanwhile, Portia begins to sense the danger closing in around her. Her instincts scream that something is wrong. Medical records mysteriously disappear, equipment malfunctions in the middle of critical procedures, and anonymous phone calls shatter her peace of mind. Every small detail suggests someone is watching her, tracking her moves, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Yet no one believes her. Her allies are few, and even they are too weak or too frightened to intervene. She stands alone, a woman caught in a tightening trap. The errors of her past, especially the manipulation of Heather's test results, have returned with devastating consequences. Drew and Urza have turned her secret into a weapon, and now she is running out of time to defend herself. Every attempt to fight back only seems to deepen her isolation. This has led fans to speculate that Portia may soon become the latest victim of General Hospital's ever-unforgiving narrative twists. With Brook Kerr's contract nearing its end and no public word on her future with the show, the writing may already be on the wall. Her character's slow descent into danger, alienation, and vulnerability is all too deliberate to be mere coincidence. But what if this isn't the end? What if Portia finds a way to survive, to outmaneuver her enemies, and reclaim her agency in the face of overwhelming odds? That possibility remains, but it grows slimmer by the day. With so many elements working against her and her enemies moving with such calculated cruelty, the question is no longer whether Portia is in danger, it's whether she can escape before the trap fully closes. Whether her story ends in tragedy or resurrection, one thing is certain, General Hospital is laying the groundwork for a dramatic climax. Portia's days in Port Charles may be numbered, and if so, her exit will leave shockwaves across the canvas. What began as a quiet concern in the background has now erupted into a storyline brimming with betrayal, manipulation, and the unmistakable scent of blood in the air. And then, in a moment no one could have predicted, Portia found herself thrust into a breath-stealing, life-threatening situation, one that tested every ounce of strength she had left. It began with an unusual phone call late at night. The voice on the other end was cold, anonymous, and emotionless. "If you want the truth, come alone," it said. Despite her instincts screaming that something was off, Portia, driven by fear, confusion, and a desperate need for answers, chose to follow the trail, unaware that she was walking straight into a trap meticulously designed to end her existence. The address led her to a desolate, long-abandoned building on the outskirts of Port Charles, once a mental health facility, now cloaked in decay and silence. No one knew she was there. No one would think to look for her. The hallways were empty, the air thick with dust and the scent of mold. Her footsteps echoed ominously as she moved cautiously with a small flashlight, its flickering beam barely cutting through the suffocating darkness. Each creak of the floorboards, each gust of wind through shattered windows, seemed to whisper that she did not belong, and that she was not alone. It wasn't long before Portia realized she had been deceived. As she entered the heart of the facility, the doors slammed shut behind her with violent finality. The metallic click of a lock reverberated in the silence, and when she turned back, she found the exit sealed. Her flashlight blinked once, twice, and then went out. Darkness swallowed her whole. Trapped. Isolated. Powerless. There were no allies, no family, no way to call for help. Just her, and the oppressive darkness closing in. Somewhere in the building, unseen eyes were watching. Distant echoes of footsteps bounced off the concrete walls. A low, chilling laugh, barely audible, seeped through the void. Whoever orchestrated this moment was savoring every second of her fear. Portia, once the steady and compassionate doctor, now stood as a hunted woman in a game she never agreed to play. Every ounce of her training told her to remain calm, to think clearly, but the terror clawing at her chest was too real. She was not just being silenced, she was being erased. If the writers of General Hospital truly intend for Portia to exit the canvas, this could be one of the most intricately crafted and emotionally devastating deaths the show has delivered in years. Not an impulsive tragedy or a random accident, but a calculated, psychological takedown, engineered by Urza and executed by Drew, all under the veil of secrecy. Her demise would send shockwaves through Port Charles, reshaping alliances and tearing open wounds, all while leaving viewers haunted by the silent, lonely fate she endured. But what if this is not the end? What if, against all odds, Portia survives? Whether through a hidden escape route she discovers at the last second, or a last-minute intervention by a long-lost ally, her survival would mark not just a continuation, but a transformation. She would no longer be a victim. She would rise from the ashes, scarred but stronger, and determined to uncover the truth and bring her enemies to justice. Survival would forge a new Portia, one no longer bound by fear or passivity. Her journey would shift from one of vulnerability to vengeance. She would become a reckoning, a storm aimed directly at Drew and Urza, the very men who tried to destroy her. Her pursuit of justice would peel back the layers of corruption in Port Charles, exposing the rot that has remained hidden for too long. In either scenario, death or survival, this turning point marks a definitive chapter in Portia's story. If she falls, her loss will be profound and unforgettable. But if she rises, it will herald a new era of fire and fury. What began as a deceptive phone call and a lonely walk into darkness may very well become the moment that changes General Hospital forever. No matter how the writers ultimately choose to close this chapter, it's becoming increasingly evident that Portia's fate is no longer in her own hands. What once was a character full of nuance, depth, and purpose, defined by her role as a doctor, a mother, and a woman constantly seeking to protect those she loved, has slowly been reduced to a tragic figure, drifting toward an ominous and irreversible end. Behind the scenes, the expiration of Brook Kerr's contract in June 2025 hovers like a silent storm cloud, casting a long shadow over every one of Portia's recent storylines. And within the world of General Hospital, each carefully layered narrative beat seems to nudge her closer to a tragic conclusion, one that no longer feels like a twist, but rather an inevitability. Portia is no longer merely reacting to the chaos surrounding her. She is being consumed by it. In earlier arcs, she was someone who stood for stability, sometimes flawed, often conflicted, but grounded in a sense of moral duty and emotional conviction. Now, she appears stripped of control, caught in a sequence of events that feel designed to isolate, undermine, and ultimately destroy her. Every storyline she's involved in has increasingly distanced her from meaningful connections: her strained marriage to Curtis, the ethical weight of her decision to alter Heather's medical records, and the growing threat from Drew and Urza, whose calculated agenda has quietly turned Portia into a liability. These aren't random coincidences. They are narrative signals, layered with intention and subtle forewarning, that Portia is being written out of the frame. And with Brook Kerr's contract drawing to a close without confirmation of renewal, fans can't help but interpret the silence as foreshadowing. In the world of daytime television, especially a long-running institution like General Hospital, exits are rarely accidental. They are built gradually, each plot point weaving a thread into the tapestry of a character's final act. And in Portia's case, that tapestry is dark, fragile, and full of sorrow. The way she has been pushed into isolation is telling. Former allies have either turned against her, lost faith, or become entangled in their own webs of trouble. The hospital, once her sanctuary, now feels cold and unfamiliar. Her professional integrity has been compromised, her reputation quietly dismantled by whispers and accusations, and her personal life left in ruins by decisions she cannot undo. Even her own home no longer feels like a refuge, but a place haunted by the echoes of trust betrayed and love unraveling. Worse still is the reality that she has become a threat to those with power: Drew and Urza, men who do not hesitate to eliminate obstacles with calculated precision. She is not merely a bystander in their machinations, she has become the one person who knows too much. Her awareness of the corruption festering beneath the surface, combined with her own vulnerabilities, makes her a perfect target. The way they have used her own secrets against her, blackmailing her, isolating her, paints a chilling portrait of psychological warfare. And Portia, no matter how resilient, is being backed into a corner from which there may be no return. All signs suggest that her time in Port Charles is drawing to a painful close. But if that is the writer's plan, then Portia's exit will not be soft, redemptive, or peaceful. It will be brutal. Cold. A devastating reminder of how unforgiving this world can be to those who dare to believe in truth, in justice, or in the sanctity of human life. Her death, if that is where this arc leads, will not be quick or meaningless. It will be the product of betrayal, fear, and manipulation. It will be a death that says more about those who let it happen than about the woman it claims. And yet, there is another possibility, one just as compelling. If Portia manages to survive, if she finds a way to escape this nightmare and reclaim her voice, her power, and her identity, then this dark descent could become the catalyst for an astonishing transformation. She could rise, phoenix-like, from the ashes of her broken life and become a force to be reckoned with. Not a supporting player, but a central figure fueled by vengeance, justice, and a determination to never again be silenced. But survival would come at a cost. She would no longer be the Portia the audience once knew. Her innocence, her gentleness, her trust in others, those would be gone. In their place would stand a woman forged by betrayal, tempered by fear, and sharpened by the fire of loss. She would return to Port Charles not to heal the sick, but to expose the rot. To take down those who used her. To remind the town. And the viewers, that even the most forgotten, underestimated soul can become the most dangerous. Still, even that path is shrouded in uncertainty. With every passing episode, the walls close in tighter, and the silence around her future grows louder. Brook Kerr's potential departure adds a layer of meta-tragedy to Portia's arc. The audience is not just bracing for the fall of a fictional character, they're witnessing the slow erasure of someone who once brought balance, heart, and conscience to a chaotic world. The lack of renewal news feels like the final nail, the unspoken confirmation that the story has already been written. All that remains is for it to unfold. And if that is true, if Portia's end has already been scripted, then her farewell will be more than just a storyline, it will be a reckoning. It will stand as a grim reflection of how easily the purest voices can be drowned out by the ambitions of those who crave control. A reminder that in Port Charles, survival is not a matter of merit, but a matter of maneuvering, and Portia, for all her strength, never learned to play dirty enough. In the end, the audience may not get the closure they hoped for. There may be no redemption, no justice, no last-minute rescue. Just a void, heavy, aching, and full of unanswered questions. And in that void, the ghost of Portia will linger, not as a symbol of weakness, but as a silent warning, that even the brightest lights can be extinguished, quietly and without mercy, in a world that no longer values the truth.